I read the news so that you don't have to. Why is a billionaire political donor trying to move people onto a disputed island that the UK government is literally trying to give away? As you can see from the headline, it says, Reform UK's billionaire donor backs disputed Chagos settlement. Now, you may have heard of the Chagos Islands, but we're going to go a little bit deeper because what seems like charity is basically just politics with a yacht. If you haven't heard of the Chagos Islands, they're a group of islands where the UK kicked out the local population decades ago so that their friends, the US, could build military bases on Diego Garcia. Now, at the moment, the UK is trying to hand the islands to Mauritius, but they still want to keep the military base. And so the deal is very controversial. Now enter Christopher Harbone, Reform UK's biggest donor. He's funding a group of Chagosians to return back and live on the island. Now, on the surface of it sounds lovely, helping displaced people return home. Wow, who'd have thought it? But politically, this does something very specific. If people are already living there, it complicates the deal to hand the islands back to Mauritius. It also creates a legal and humanitarian headache and basically puts pressure on the government's entire deal. In other words, this isn't just resettlement, it's leverage. So this is very much a play because Reform have been strongly against the UK giving up the islands. Now, it may seem contradictory, right? Because part of the deal to give the islands back to Mauritius maintains the military base, but there's more. So the deal was to transfer sovereignty to Mauritius. They would lease back Diego Garcia, which is the military base, and then figure out if and how resettlement happens. Now, resettlement is the most sensitive part of the deal. It sounds simple, but it isn't. The islands are remote, they're dangerous, they lack infrastructure, there are environmental concerns, there's also security concerns because of the military bases, and crucially, who's going to pay for it? So the reason Reform are getting involved via this political donor is because resettlement before the deal is finished creates problems. It complicates the handover because it means Mauritius inherit like a live population, humanitarian obligations and infrastructure needs that they don't necessarily want to sign up for. It strengthens the argument for the UK to keep control because it's like, oh, legal disputes are ongoing, it's unstable, it's chaotic, and people are already living there. Basically, it's too messy, just keep control of it. And finally, it puts pressure on the military base issue. The US-UK base on Diego Garcia is the prize here, for them at least. So anything that destabilizes the wider territory, introduces civilians nearby, or creates legal uncertainty can be used to argue that the deal is just too risky. But what you essentially have here is two arguments, the moral and the strategic. The moral being the people were removed and they deserve to go home, and strategic, this move is being used to influence a geopolitical deal. So the issue isn't really should the Chagosians return, it's who controls the terms of that return, the government or a billionaire with a political agenda.